russosbrand.com, where the pros are the pros.
So Dave LaGreca on Busted Open Radio went on a rant after WrestleMania. That. You saw that about Cena beating Cody?
Yeah.
Okay, so The Rock posts on Dave's Instagram or the Busted Open Instagram, I'm not sure which one, and he says, "Hi Dave, the business is a complete work. Always has been, always will be, every aspect of it, every match, every interview. Right. Please join me, Cody, Cena, Brian, and the rest of us for our creative discussions so you can expand your perspective. Until then, stop ranting. It's not healthy, my friend."
So Rock said that publicly, just telling everybody this whole business is a complete.
Okay.
Go ahead, Al. Go ahead.
We've struggled with this, and we've talked about this quite a bit recently. Yeah. I don't even know where to start. Yeah, he addressed it. Did he address it publicly? Yeah, but did he really address it publicly? Not really. He addressed it to an audience who, much like, how can I explain this? They're that audience that likes hearing that kind of stuff. They're the audience that listens to this podcast. They're the audience that listens to Busted Open Radio and Dave LaGreca. They're the audience that reads the newsletters. They're the audience that goes on the internet and gets reviews and match results and 5-star ratings. He's not addressing anyone more than just that audience already. And for whatever reason, just kind of like, I guess, the best thing you can, comes close. And really, it's hard to compare them because they are dramatically different. Movies, their version of kayfabe is the producers go through great efforts to ensure, and they spend millions of dollars when they produce a movie in one thing, and that's to prevent you from ever seeing anything in the movie that would take you out of that world and not allow you to believe and enjoy the story. So to the point of, if they do a Western, you're going to have a wardrobe person who's going to literally have to spend hours researching what kind of materials clothing was made of back then so that they can have as close to legitimate outfits so that you don't see something that doesn't fit. Wallpaper, furnishings, things like that. And they're going to spend money to get those items that are as realistic as possible so that you are never taken out of that world. That's the effort and the time. That's their kayfabe. But there are portions of the audience that enjoy knowing those behind the scenes things, and it, for whatever reason, enhances their enjoyment of going to the movie and understanding that. But it's not the mass audience, and movies still draw a mass audience under the very same concept that we do, which is, hey, at least for the period of time that you're in the building, you can believe that there's a young teenage boy who shoots jizz out of his wrist and sticks to a wall. It's not a documentary about that. It's a movie. Granted, wrestling isn't exactly the same because, unlike, like Hollywood again, they created the gimmick and that's all it is. That system hasn't changed. The studio system back in the day when they first started in the 30s and 40s controlled every aspect of all of the media in regards to any of their stars, much, similar to a wrestling promotion. And they created magazines, they created and gossip and things to perpetuate the gimmick of movie star. So that if you liked a particular star, like you like Tom Cruise, well, you liked him in one movie, there's no guarantee that you're going to like him in the next upcoming Mission Impossible and be motivated to want to buy a ticket to see him in it. Because at the end of the day, Tom Cruise's job isn't just to act. Tom Cruise's real job is to use acting to motivate you to want to drive to the movie theater and buy a ticket to watch him do it. And in order for us, the general public, to keep involved and in between movies, we got to create the gimmick for him of a movie star, because he's going to play a different gimmick, a different character in each movie. Well, with wrestling, you're not going to play a different character, a different gimmick. You're going to be that character, that gimmick. And I just saw, when I've mentioned this and I've advised young talent, hey, make yourself to, social media platforms. And, that way you can kind of always be and maintain that persona of what you are selling on TV to an audience to allow them to never have a gap in their belief. Everybody, oh, you're, bitter, you're old school, you're a hypocrite. Okay. But I just saw a clip where Steve Austin and Undertaker were talking about the very fact that they both did that when they were at a place where they were being successful. Undertaker saying how he always wore black and how that way it would never allow any of the fans to not believe he was the Undertaker. I'm not saying that you can't, like The Rock saying all of that, and I don't think it's going to hurt business. I do think, and I think that, like the press conferences after the show, again, I think they hit a small niche audience that is interested in that anyways. But I don't think it's going to hurt business. I really don't.
What do you think Rock's motivation would have been to address it at all?
Well, I think it was a moment that he sold, that it kind of hit a nerve on him. And, whatever LaGreca's rant was, there was probably something that triggered him, because usually he's pretty good about following the rule of you just don't sell. You don't put somebody else over by reacting, by responding. Look, nobody's perfect. Eventually everybody, will react, will sell, will respond in some fashion. And he had a moment where he did. Look, people have known since the 1940s. We've not openly acknowledged it because kayfabe was never, everybody goes, well, you protect the business. No, it isn't. I have never heard something more misunderstood in my life. You know how we used to protect the business? We didn't let people in it. That's how. Do you know why? Here's why. Because it takes an entire locker room of people to build a town, to draw money. It takes everyone to draw money. You know how many it takes to kill it? One.
Yeah.
And that's why that was how we protected business. We didn't allow just anyone to get in it. It wasn't the kayfabe. The kayfabe was this. Hey, I know that I know what we're doing ain't really a competition. But I'm not going to insult you and make you feel stupid for spending your money to come watch me. You know that I know you know. And you are going to just turn a blind eye so that you can enjoy it. And we all get it. All right. And that is still prominent to this day. We want to come, we want to believe, we want to get swept up. We know. I tell people, I've said this a number of times. In I won't forget the year, 1976. I went to all of my family. I said, I want to be a professional wrestler. And do you want every single one of them said to me, even my grandmother on both sides, my grandfather on both sides, why do you want to do that? That's fake. What? How do you all know this? None of you have ever done it because everyone did. Why did thousands still pay to see it? Because of the fact that they could believe, and we allowed them to believe. And we're still doing that, but we've got to understand there is a portion of the audience, and granted, it's probably very small. It's a very niche portion of that audience, just like with movies and other forms of entertainment, that appreciate and want to feel like they're on the inside. Same with sports. That's why we have that inside the NFL thing and, all of that speculation and conversation prior to a game and after a game. And same with baseball and basketball, same things. That's why ESPN is so popular, so that we can sit there and analyze and feel like we can evaluate. Hey, I played basketball back when I was in high school, so I'm sure I could coach an NBA team that's playing in the finals. No, you can't. But you can feel like you could. And the same goes for these fans that, hear, The Rock respond to Dave LaGreca. He didn't respond publicly. He responded to that niche audience. He didn't respond to the mass audience. And and as long as we're still endeavoring to do what has been over a century of doing, which is us, when you walk in that building, we're going to sell you who we are so you can connect, you can relate to me. who I am. And then I'm going to do everything I can through my physical actions to tell you a story within the context of a competitive situation where there was a conflict that was built backstage between me and the other person that has to be resolved by who of us is going to win that contest. That's it. You put any spin you want on it. Oh, I like ice cream. You like chocolate. Bullshit. That's what you're doing. You're telling a story of competition over a conflict that was created to give it a personal bias to allow an audience to relate more to one individual or the other, to want to cheer them on to win, to now not just win, but prove they're the better person.